Hello. Welcome, everybody. I see lots of people starting to file in, which is great. We're going to give everybody maybe a minute or two to just kind of get in and get settled. But while we're waiting, if you are interested, put maybe the name of your organization and where you're located in the chat. We love to kind of get to know you all a little bit better and see where everybody's coming from.
Yay. Extra points if you're from Boston. Yes, Children's Trust. Woo! Oh, I love it. Canadians.
Yeah, I love when we get a good mix of Canadian and American friends together.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Chicago. Ooh, Las Vegas.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, well,
wow.
We're gonna get this show on the road here. So first of all, thank you everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. My name is Meredith. I'm Keela's head of marketing. We also have Stephanie, Keela's marketing specialist, helping us out today on the tech side of things. You may see her in the chat box or answering some of your technical questions, so feel free to say hello to Steph. Before we get started, I just want to start the session today by acknowledging that Keela's head office is located in Vancouver, which is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and give thanks for their generosity and hospitality on these lands and waters. If you're new to Keela, welcome. Keela is a donor management and fundraising platform that brings together all of the essential tools and features that fundraisers need to succeed. Keela was also built by fundraisers for fundraisers. I myself was a fundraiser before joining Keela, as were many people on the Keela team, and we have a deep-rooted understanding of the nonprofit sector, and we've kind of channeled all of that knowledge and experience into creating a platform that caters to your unique needs. So on behalf of everyone at Keela, welcome again. Today's session is going to be about 45 minutes in length, plus a 10 to 15 minute Q&A session at the end. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to write any questions you have in the chat box or in the Q&A, ideally in the Q&A so they don't get as lost, but we'll be sure to get to as many of them as we can. And speaking of the chat box, please remember to select everyone when you type so that all of our guests today can read your comments and questions. And finally, I know we get this question a lot. The webinar is being recorded, and we will be sending out access to the recording as well as Julia's slides before the end of the week. So I am very excited to welcome our expert speaker for today, Julia Campbell. Julia is a nonprofit digital consultant, speaker, and author on a mission to make the digital world a better place. She's the host of the acclaimed Nonprofit Nation podcast. She has written 2 books for nonprofits on social media and storytelling, and her online courses, webinars, and talks have helped hundreds of nonprofits make the shift to digital thinking. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Julia.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Meredith. Thanks to the whole team at Keela for having me and for sponsoring all of the episodes in May for the Nonprofit Nation podcast. So I really appreciate the partnership and the collaboration. And I appreciate all of you. Thanks for coming today. I know you're busy. And like Meredith said, you will get the recording, you will get the slides. So you can certainly take some screenshots and some notes, but you'll be able to review it at your leisure. So a little bit about me. I am based in Boston, Massachusetts. I come from the nonprofit sector. I started out as a development director and marketing director, and I've even been at one point development, marketing, outreach, and volunteer director. I don't know, there's like 4 full-time jobs at once. So I understand where you're coming from if you are someone that wears all the hats, does all the things. And I've worked at larger organizations as well, but my heart is really for the smaller mid-sized nonprofit, really struggling with trying all the things. So I've written 2 books for nonprofits. I'm a keynote speaker. I have a podcast, Nonprofit Nation, that I'm incredibly proud of. And I have 2 lovely children and a wonderful husband. And these are some pictures. Actually, that picture of my family, that was when we were in Montreal. It was my daughter's 13th birthday, and it's a tradition in our family that when you turn 13, you have shirts made with your name on them, and you have to take pictures with your parents, just like as humiliation. So IMC, those are my daughter's initials. And we took pictures all day with her like jersey on them. So that's just our little tradition. So what are we here to talk about today? Well, social media. So we're going to talk about social media in terms of the landscape and paint some kind of broad brush strokes, but then we're also going to drill down pretty tactically into some of the trends and some of the things that are working. And I'm going to give you some examples and some case studies and share some of the things that I'm seeing that are actually having an impact. So what are the most critical changes? These changes are really important just to understand why things are happening the way they are happening. So why are there so many like shifting sands in social media right now? Well, the digital ad market is in a slump. So major tech companies have seen a really huge fall in ad spending in all of the most recent quarterly reports that I have seen. And brand and retail clients, nonprofit clients are also pulling back on digital marketing. So it's slowed down from where it was in the pandemic. I won't bore you with statistics, but it's a really big issue. And that's why all of these paid subscriptions are coming up, like Twitter Blue and Meta Verified, and organizations, I mean, not organizations, the platforms, the companies, the multi-billion-dollar companies, they're struggling to make up for this lost revenue. There are also, I think it's a good thing, increased consumer privacy restrictions. So we're demanding a lot more restriction around how our data is collected and used and especially sold. So for those of you that are iPhone users or Apple users, you probably know about the update that happened in April 2021. It's called App Tracking Transparency. And when you download an app, it says, allow whatever to track your activity. 97% of iPhone users are opting out of this. And this makes it harder for us, like digital marketers, to track users and their preferences. So it's a win for consumers and a loss for marketers. If you've seen like a diminished return on your Facebook ads, this is why this is happening. It's driving up prices, and measuring conversions is becoming incredibly challenging. So we're all kind of struggling for different ways to go about this. And it's costing these platforms billions and billions of dollars, right? So, I mean, whether or not we feel bad for them is one thing, but we are marketers at the end of the day, right? We're fundraisers. We want to get our message out in front of the right people. Some of us have ad budgets, some don't. But the point is, it's becoming much harder to attract and to target the correct audiences using these platforms because of digital privacy restrictions. There's also threats of regulation. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? A full ban on TikTok. Montana actually did ban TikTok. Utah's passing laws. Texas is considering a ban on social media use for anyone under 18. Now, I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I have many opinions about these laws. I think they could be handled in a much more effective and efficient and less political way. I think that they're opening good conversations. But for us as social media marketers, or even if we just use social media for our organizations, we need to be paying attention to what's happening in the landscape. I think there's a backlash. I know there's a backlash. I'm seeing a backlash happening towards social media companies. So, does that mean social media is over? I mean, of course, it does not mean that it's over. Billions and billions of people are still using the platforms globally. This is a study by Meltwater and We Are Social, and they release it every month. But they release every quarter, I should say. So as of the latest quarter that they released, they haven't released the second quarter yet. Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, the three most predominant and widely used and popular social media platforms. Now, who cares really, like if a lot of people are using it? The point is it relevant for us, like our sector, because we are so unique? Is it really relevant for what we're going through, what we're doing, and the impact we're trying to create? And the answer is yes. So almost 30% of online donors say that social media is the tool that most inspires them to give. 87% of donors who first donate from a social referral source make their second donation from a social referral source. And it also drives over half of the traffic to fundraising campaign pages. So that is, posting a link on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Facebook, and people are going to your campaign page. The latest statistics that I have seen, $7 billion in global donations raised via the Facebook and Instagram donate button. So whether or not you use these tools, I think that the evidence is really pointing towards people are getting more comfortable. Certainly we're more comfortable in I wouldn't say post-COVID, COVID adjacent world. We are more comfortable with Apple Pay, Google Pay, using our wallets. I don't even know I don't even have like a credit card. I just use like everything on my phone now. So we're more likely to be comfortable with these tools, and that's good for us. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Meta Verified. I do get a lot of questions about it. And I only want to touch on it because I think it represents a huge trend in what's going on. Like I said before, a lot of the social media companies are really struggling to recoup all of that lost revenue from digital ads. So they're running subscription services, really nothing new. And also for our purposes, Meta Verified is not something that we as nonprofits are necessarily interested in. It's not available for pages yet. It's aimed at individual creators and influencers. So the influencer marketing industry is worth billions of dollars. And that's where a lot of the social media platforms are headed. That's where their focus is. They want people to be verified. They want them to get exclusive features. They want to have proactive account protection, which I thought was offered to all of us, but apparently not. You can also get access to a real person in customer support. I don't really know what that means. And no one really knows what that means. And then increased visibility and reach. They still haven't rolled this out in the US yet. So a lot of this is all up in the air. Subscriptions are nothing new. So a lot of us pay for subscriptions. I pay for YouTube Premium. I pay for Spotify, whatever Plus or Spotify Premium. So a lot of us are not, a lot of us are used to this, but I think we're also used to social media being completely free. And now the trend is going to be potentially that they're having these subscriptions and these revenue streams. And I think there can be implications for marketers for sure. So the only constant is change. That's what I want to say. So how do you drive donations and actually get engagement on social media in 2023? That's why you're here. The first thing we need to know, we need to understand why people share content on social media, because as we know, sharing is the gold standard. So there's a big disconnect between why us marketers think people share and why they actually do. So people predominantly want to help their friends. They want to share practical information. So that's something to keep in mind when you're creating your posts. We also need to really understand that each platform is a different country. Think of it as a different country, different rules, different language, different etiquette, different strengths, different weaknesses, different best practices, different features. There's so much that's different about all of these platforms. And people use each platform for different reasons. So the era of just cutting and pasting across all of the platforms, I think that was over a while ago, but it's especially over in 2023. And certainly you can repurpose a photo or a video, but you have to mold it into the shape that's going to be the most amenable to whatever site that you are on. We need to understand why people are visiting certain sites. Certain sites are more likely to be visited for search function. Like YouTube is basically a search engine. Instagram now is basically a search engine. People are searching. People still use Facebook to connect with family and friends. LinkedIn is much more to build your professional brand. So we really have to understand the purposes that people are using these platforms for. So creating your content strategy. This is very important no matter which platform you choose to be on. You need a content strategy for each platform. So you can have an overall content strategy, which is what we'll talk about today. I don't have time to teach you 30 different content strategies for each platform. So there's an overall content strategy, but it needs to be customized for whichever platform you choose to be on and to build an audience on. So the very first piece of this is really understanding your unique audience. Who are you trying to reach and engage? We have to get crystal clear on the answers to these questions before we can even start writing a post or writing a tweet. What do they value? Why are they interested in your work? What knowledge gaps do they have about your work that you could potentially fill? And really, what questions do they have? So knowledge gaps and questions are different. So I know the knowledge gaps that my clients have, and I also know the questions that they have. Sometimes they overlap, but sometimes what people think they want to know, what they need to know are very different. So I think a good combination is the two. Use their words. And I want us all to take just 1 second. You can even write it down while I'm talking, write it down afterwards, take a screenshot of this, do this with your team or even just by yourself. Try to figure out in their words, not using jargon, not using what your mission statement or anything on your website. Why would, if I was a donor, you called me up and you said, why do you give to us? Or why do you continue to give to us? Why do you continue to support us? What would I say in my own words? That's the kind of content you need to be creating. And those are the kinds of words that you need to be using. Now, a good frame of reference is the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule is, the 80-20 rule in productivity is very different, but the 80-20 rule in content creation says that 80% of what you should be creating is just free knowledge and useful information, interaction, education, inspiration, entertainment, and connection. Now, this is a huge reason why I do these free webinars. This is a reason why I have my podcast, my weekly podcast, why I have a blog post, because it helps me build my brand as a thought leader and a go-to resource. And then the 20% of the time, if I am asking someone to do something for me, I built that trust with the 80% of content that I've shared. And this is no different for nonprofit organizations. So Rhodes Scholar, one of my clients, they are based in Boston, and they share pretty much, it's like 3 buckets of content. The first bucket is like on this day, history, quotes. They know that their audience is super into these kinds of, questions, like author Harper Lee was born on this day. Do you still read library books? I mean, that's such a great question, especially for their audience, because they know they skew a little bit older. On this day, the first American woman to obtain an international pilot's license. Like this is all part of their brand, like teaching people about history and educating people. And then also, they are hugely into advocating for seniors. So showing that, ballet class, giving women over 50 their confidence back. Age does not define me. An 81-year-old earns a bachelor's degree. Like overcoming all odds, combating ageism. That is a huge piece of their mission and a piece of their puzzle and something their audience really cares about. And then also just asking questions. Are you retired or still working? If you could name a racehorse, what would you name it? Creating this kind of community with their audience. This is what we need to be posting on social media 80% of the time. Because then 20% of the time you can say, we have an event coming up. We have a fundraiser. We're raising money for this. This is our campaign. But 80% of the time, we really needs to be this value add kind of content. So what I want all of you to do after the webinar is to create a list of your own content topics. Stories, fantastic and absolutely perfect for this kind of thing. Statistics and data, some behind the scenes, like some illumination into how you get your work done and how you make the magic happen. Upcoming events, milestones and anniversaries, cause and awareness days. We all have a cause and awareness day. News stories, how-to posts, inspirational quotes. All of these can be used. So when you tell me you don't know what to post, I'm going to pull up this slide. And I'm going to say, there are a lot of things that you can post. Yeah, sure, you have to create them, but there are a lot of different ideas. So what are some questions you can ask, some guiding questions? Why do your donors support you? We asked that before. And get on the phone with them if you don't know. What information can you give them that will make them think? What education can you provide them that will help them trust you? And what are the knowledge gaps around your cause? The other important piece of content, of course, is what stories can you share that will inspire them? And Stephanie posted the link to Keela's content planner to help you plan your social media content, which is just absolutely wonderful. Thanks for posting that link. That was created really to help you plan and work through strategically the ideas that you're going to glean from this webinar. So now let's get into the weeds here, okay? Because people are always like, okay, great. I know my content, my audience. Now, what do I need to be doing? Well, you might not like it, but I'm going to tell you the 3 social media trends that I am seeing that are getting great results for my clients. Short form video, specifically Instagram Reels, influencer marketing, and LinkedIn for nonprofits. And we're going to unpack all of these right now. Short form video. It's powerful. There's a lot of statistics around it. We can't deny it. You've probably heard that short form video on social media is an important tool for reaching new and younger audiences. So it's not groundbreaking news, but many of us have hesitated, to jump in for a variety of reasons. So I know there are some real challenges. There are some perceived challenges, but there are compelling and research-backed reasons to consider incorporating this into your social media strategy. That's what this slide is, research-backed reasons. Instagram Reels are incredibly popular. Also, Instagram loves Reels because Meta, as we know, they get their shiny new tool that they love. It used to be Facebook Live, then it was the Facebook donate button, then it was Instagram Live, then it was Instagram Stories, and now it's Instagram Reels. They get their shiny new little baby that they love, and they promote it, and they put it up in the Explore and the it's not called the For You feed on Instagram, but it's like the Explore tab. And they have a huge engagement rate. So it's definitely worth exploring. You can also create a template to save time on Instagram. And if you've posted to Facebook recently, so I don't know if there's any Twin Peaks fans here. I went to this big Twin Peaks party, and I took a bunch of photos and I posted them on Facebook, and it asked me, do you want to turn this into a reel? And it turned it into a reel for me, like actually for me. It was amazing. So I would experiment with that. I mean, Facebook is really pushing this. Instagram's pushing Reels, Facebook Reels. You can post them on Instagram and on Facebook. But what I'm saying is I think there's a lot of opportunity to do this without much technical know-how. So quick guide. Length of short form video is anything under 60 seconds. I mean, I've heard that it could be anything under 2 minutes, but no, it's anything under 60 seconds. Normally 15 to 30 is kind of the ideal range that we're talking about here, but some videos go 60 seconds and they're fine. So really it's just, do you need to go 60 seconds? If you need to, then do it. If you don't, the shorter, the better. So how do we even get started here? You just need to test various ideas. And if you go to candid.org, they are an organization that provides, resources to the philanthropic sector. They wrote an entire blog post about how they did experimentation with Instagram Reels for 6 months or something like that. They did a whole experiment. They detailed the entire thing. By the way, I just want you to know, Candid, they're an academic institution. They're a think tank. They are not providing services. They're not taking care of animals, puppies, kittens, and children. So it's not just going to be, kids running around or, an animal being rescued. It's actually very how-to and resource-based and information-based reels. So I recommend checking out that article and checking them out on Instagram. Because I know a lot of us think, oh, we can't do video if we don't have animals, but that's just not true. You want to identify those key topics. What do people want to learn about? And then break it down into quick, simple steps. Start off with the problem, like, why do I need to pay attention? Why is this a problem? And conclude it with the solution. And you can add graphics if you want. You can invite other people, experts, thought leaders to explain key concepts. There's all sorts of different examples of ways that you can use it. And then look at your data, what drives the most engagement, the most views, and you might be surprised. You probably will be. It's always something that we think is going to get a ton of engagement that falls flat. And then something that we think is going to fall flat and gets a ton of engagement. Like, you just can never plan. So look at your data. What drives the most engagement, the most views? Oh, hold on. I wanted to play this. But hold on. I'm going to stop share because I forgot to, let me see. I forgot to put my sound on. So I'm just going to share my screen again with the sound on. And then hopefully you can watch this. Oops. Let me see. Let's see if we can play it. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Well, I'll click out to it. I think it's really good. It might also have a bad word in it, so forgive me. But this is a great example of a sort of topic that's not very sexy. So look at what Western Modern Girl does. Can people see this? Let me make sure that. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay. So when you look at Western Modern Girl and what she does, she takes this topic that is seemingly very niche, which I think is actually great because the niche topics tend to do the best. And then she creates all of these little videos that are really specific and they drill down into the topic. You can see she has, 58,000 followers. And she's just obsessed with water and obsessed with Colorado and obsessed with talking about the different ways that people can help preserve their way of life there. Now, if you want to use short form video for storytelling, you can follow Invisible People, and Invisible People actually really does a fantastic job. They literally just talk to people experiencing homelessness and they create these video shorts. So there was one specific one that I wanted to play. Oh yeah. And they're just kind of no fuss, no muss.
Me a shelter bed. They did not have one available. They took me to jail for 7 days.
Wait. You got arrested for being homeless because they didn't have a shelter bed.
Yes, I did.
You're the second person that's told me that.
Yes, I did. I spent 7 days in jail. My tent got broken into. I lost all my valuable things by other homeless people, not the police.
Right.
And I had to start the whole process over again, reaccumulating my stuff, my clothes, my phones, whatever I had to get back again.
Yeah. So 7 days.
So you can see this kind of creates us, and then this is Mark Horvath, who is the executive director and the founder. And he gives the context to it. And it's just him and his phone. There's no fancy equipment. I mean, he does have like a camera and a mic when he's interviewing people, but there's not a camera crew. It doesn't cost thousands of dollars. So this is something I think that would be, certainly not easy. I don't want to ever say that something is going to be easy, but certainly doing something like this, I'm just going to reshare over my other screen, but something like this is possible no matter what your mission is what I'm trying to say. So your mission could be actually working with people, front-facing client services. It could be solving an environmental crisis. It could be, helping children with literacy. There are all sorts of questions that people are asking and ways that you can become the go-to resource and create these kind of videos. And my biggest recommendation for you is, if you feel intimidated starting this process, I just think I think if you are just starting out, creating that list of content topics and also researching and looking at what others are doing. Look at what others are doing. So when I started with Instagram stories, I probably took a week and I just watched other people's stories. I just looked at them and watched them and took notes and saw like how many would be good to do in a row, and what I liked and what I didn't like. So that's what we need to be doing. Like, think of yourself as a journalist, as a researcher, taking notes on what other people are doing and thinking strategically about how this can really help your organization. So you don't need fancy equipment to succeed. Really, all you need is your phone. Natural light is the best. Maybe a ring light, maybe a couple of, you can attach a light to your phone. Microphone, potentially for good sound, but I've seen entire documentaries made on an iPhone, so who knows? You don't have to follow trends. Now, look at what Candid wrote. Some of our top videos were just authentic conversations on topics that we knew would be valuable for our audiences. No dancing, no music, or other theatrics were necessary. A staff member with good advice to share. Okay, that is what I'm saying. No dancing, no music, no theatrics. You don't need it. And if it's not your thing, don't do it. Just don't do it. I'm not here to tell you have to do it. I'm here to tell you what I'm seeing working and show you how. I'm not here to tell you you have to do it. So I hope that inspires you at least to look into it. The second big trend is influencer marketing. Influencer marketing also gets, I think there are a lot of misconceptions and myths about it. I think people think, well, they have to work with, Taylor Swift or Kim Kardashian or some like huge influencer. But really, an influencer is just someone who has an audience that cares about them. And micro influencers are people that have, small but highly engaged followings. And I was just talking about this on a podcast episode I recorded earlier about how some of these celebrities have, 100 million followers. But if you look at their posts, the comments are all spam bots, spam, 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 spam. And I would rather have 100 followers and have really engaged conversations, or have people that actually really care what I have to say. So a great example, Nate Taylor, just over 4,000 followers, but he gets a huge engagement rate. So, getting an engagement rate over 1% these days is amazing. 5.7 is huge. So we don't have to look for gigantic audiences. We just need to look for people that have our audience or are relevant to our cause. So the Marfan Foundation, this is an incredibly rare disease. It's a rare form of epilepsy. I've done a lot of work with them, and they partner with Ms. Marvelous. She has thousands of followers on Instagram. She shares, she's over 7 feet tall. I want to say she's like 7'5". I am 6 feet tall. So when I read her Instagram, I always thought, oh, wow, I thought people said horrible things to me because I'm tall, or the same 5 things they would say to me because I'm tall, especially if I wear heels. She gets unbelievable comments on her appearance. I mean, the stories that she shares, and she has a really dedicated following. So they're working with her. So find people that, make sense, that work within your values and your ethics. Micro influencers. So you've got to look for that person that's aligned with your audience. Also look on the platform where you want to grow. So Marfan really wanted to grow their Instagram. They were dedicated to growing their Instagram. So they were looking for followers that had a big following on Instagram, or just a smaller following. Reach out, introduce yourself, DM them, find their email, find their website, explain why you want to partner with them, outline the terms, what you want them to do. You can give them content and bullet points and graphics. Once they say yes, So don't email them the whole kit and caboodle before they even agree to partner with you. You got to make sure, that they don't feel like they're kind of buttoned into one thing to say. What I will say also that I didn't add to the slide, you don't have to pay influencers. So I've done a lot of work with Best Friends Animal Society. Actually, they have a director of influencer marketing because it's so huge for them. And that's a decision that they made. So I'm having Ash Collins on my podcast, and she said they don't pay at all. They do not pay influencers. They send them, a sweatshirt or like a mug or something, but that's just their policy. So create policies around how you're going to work with people, what you want them to do. And it doesn't have to be this big, gigantic, event. Like it really could be, hey, I noticed that you've been talking a lot about food insecurity in our community. I wonder if you could post about this. Honestly, I think we overthink things a lot of times. Okay, the third trend, LinkedIn for nonprofits. Now, I don't get paid by LinkedIn. I need to call them up because I am one of their biggest potential affiliate marketers. They are one of the only platforms that I have seen that is expanding their presence with nonprofits. So Meta fired its entire social impact team, entirely. Everyone I knew there, it was fired in the most recent round of layoffs or the first round of layoffs. Twitter, of course, fired everybody. I have also seen Google downsizing their social impact in their nonprofits department. LinkedIn is really the only one I've seen investing strategically and proactively. So I think, it's more than a tool for just job seekers and hiring. It really provides the tools and resources that you need to get out of the platform. So there's 1 million nonprofit organizations and 26 million nonprofit employees on the platform, according to their latest data, nonprofit.linkedin.com. LinkedIn users also donate regularly. They're more likely to donate than the average internet user, which I thought was so interesting. And 98% of LinkedIn users say they donate at least once per year. That's kind of crazy. So I think it's just perfect place for us. It's the highest converting social media channel, 30% conversion on mobile, 50% on desktop. Oh, and I'm so sorry. You can't see this really well, but it says November is Homelessness Awareness Month. And this is someone that works for Mercy House, a campaign that, the nonprofit I'm working for is running a campaign. This is what we're doing. I'm aiming to raise this. Why give? Very, very easy. My fundraising page. So it's not just for Facebook peer-to-peer fundraising. It is for it is for LinkedIn as well. So your personal profile, this is my profile. I'm happy to connect with people. I'm always kind of changing it up and making it just more relevant and maybe more fun for people. Headline, cover art, connecting to your organization, and have updated contact information. If you're a development director on LinkedIn, you need your contact information on there, okay? Because people could be contacting you. It drives me crazy when I click on contact information and there's no email. And I'm like, okay, well, you need your work email on there or some way for them to contact you, because what if there's a corporate sponsor out there lurking, Your company page is different, of course, from your personal profile. And there are some best practices that will help your company page get found and get you some more fans and followers. So people still are not really into company pages like they are sort of Facebook pages in terms of following. So you should focus more of your effort on your personal profile, but a company page, establishing a good company page brand is actually really important. So you want to make sure, you just go to nonprofit.linkedin.com. It'll walk you through the steps, completely free. Make sure you have complete information, logo, cover image, description. Now your description is very important. You don't just want to cut and paste your mission statement. You want to, zhuzh it for social media. It's not your website. You're not recycling your website. You're reaching a whole different group of people that probably want to volunteer or donate or support your cause in some way. Terms and phrases so you can be found, your website URL, all of this information. If it's complete, it's going to definitely show up more in searches. You can also create a call to action, sign up for our newsletter list. I wouldn't say make a donation because it's sort of like the first time anyone's heard of you. It might be on LinkedIn, but I would say watch our video, that kind of thing, read our blog post. The way to make your page pop, I love what American Cancer Society did. We're on a mission to free the world from cancer. That's amazing. I mean, that's it. I feel like it's speaking to me as a person and not as a prospect. Engaging pictures, linking out, and then the banner image, you can constantly change it. A lot of people changed their banner image this month to reflect Pride Month, so change your banner image if you want. Headline that is personable. We respond to the world's worst humanitarian crises and help people to survive, recover, and take control of their future. Not just a rehashed mission statement. Also, why would you write International Rescue Committee does this? I see that all the time. That's wasting characters, people. International Rescue Committee is already there. It's right there. So use we. Let fewer characters. You're going to save some time and you'll be able to create more impact. The overview. So in the about section, the Red Cross, it emphasizes individual involvement with sentences like, each day, thousands of people just like you, provide compassionate care to those in need. By using you pronouns, the Red Cross is speaking directly to the reader, inviting them to get involved. What do you post on LinkedIn? Go back to your content planner. And look at the topics and then incorporate them into the types of posts that work on LinkedIn. Also LinkedIn, oh my gosh, the content suggestions tool. I think I have to show this to you. Oh, I'm going to post this in the chat so you can all see it. It's pretty incredible. It's fun. Love the content suggestions tool. You can also reshare mentions of your organization, people that have tagged you. I do that a lot. Advocates of your cause, images, videos, PowerPoints and PDFs actually work really well on LinkedIn. So I don't know, share those. And live video content or any video content gets a lot of engagement. The National Wildlife Federation, they often post polls. So I would explore what they're posting. They use poll-based quizzes to educate their audience about wildlife, along with, pictures, videos of animals in the wild, ways that followers could get involved in saving them. The Nature Conservancy, same thing. Actually, they share information on interns and volunteers. Plan International, a lot of storytelling, which is effective on LinkedIn. You don't see a lot of it, not even any call to action here. It's just more of a story and awareness raising. And this post I love, great example of how to do peer-to-peer fundraising on LinkedIn or even on Facebook. This is a great peer-to-peer fundraising call to action. So events, we all have events, whether they're virtual, in-person, hybrid. What I love about LinkedIn events is that they're so easy to find and to promote and to add to your calendar. The best part is that you get a registration form. So if people opt in to receive communications from your nonprofit, you can follow up with them later. So definitely if you have any kind of event, virtual, hybrid, in person, put it on LinkedIn and it will act like a registration form, and then they'll get a reminder and they'll get a calendar invitation, which I think is really cool. It's also helpful because a lot of people will see my followers, I can easily share it and they can see it and they might not be connected to you. So it's a great way to get in front of a new audience. And also people, like I said, they're going to get reminders. It's free, but if you do want to put some money behind it and pay to promote it, it's definitely worthwhile. I think LinkedIn is just such a more focused, targeted audience than Facebook. I just find that especially for us, like it's professional events that we're trying to promote, and we're trying to reach other professionals in our community. So I think that using these kinds of targeting, using the targeting available on LinkedIn is really effective. Also, it's really helpful that people can find your event very, very easily. So a couple more ways to stand out, and then I want to talk about tools, and then I want to make sure I have at least 10 minutes for questions. But like any other social media site, you can't just sort of post and disappear. You have to be engaged. I mean, look at this one. We're excited to launch our new partnership, and they're actually sharing a post from someone else that tagged them, tagging people on LinkedIn, board members, corporate sponsors, volunteers. And you can very easily see the mentions if you get any mentions or any tags. Ask questions that encourage members to respond. You can also encourage sharing. So you can notify all employees of important posts. Say you have an event that you want everybody to post about, or you have a campaign. I would use this sparingly, but you can notify employees via LinkedIn. And then, of course, we all know people are much more likely to respond to me asking them something than a company page asking them something. So using that peer-to-peer aspect of LinkedIn is incredibly valuable. Making sure that everyone connects to your organization under their experience section or the volunteer section. But it really helps brand exposure. It also really helps those major donors when they're researching your organization, and then they can see everybody that's connected with it, and they can say, hey, I know James Potter, I know Julia Campbell, and they can reach out to them. I mean, it's just really helpful to create that like social web of information for potential donors. And using analytics. I think that just the native tool is really helpful. There's a link here, and using that data to help you improve your social media content, that is absolutely key. So you want to discover what's resonating, what's relevant, what's timely. Do this on all of your platforms. This is not exclusive to LinkedIn. Make sure you are thoroughly measuring and analyzing and evaluating, iterating, improving, tweaking all the words. Make sure you are doing that on a regular basis and not just throwing spaghetti out and then not even seeing if it sticks, just letting it like slide down the wall, because that is not a good social media strategy. Some tools for you that I love, of course, Canva, yay. Let's just all shout out to the graphic design gods for Canva. Animoto is like idiot-proof videography and video editing. It's literally video editing for dummies. Wonderful. I have the mobile app and I have it on my desktop as well. WordSwag is one of my favorite mobile apps for content creation and creating quick graphics on the go. Then we've got scheduling and measurement. So Hootsuite, Buffer. I really like Buffer. Later, these are all effective if you have multiple team members, multiple pieces of content, multiple things to schedule. I wouldn't schedule out all of your content. And also if you're only using a couple of platforms, use the scheduler that's native to the platform. Like use Meta Business Scheduler for Facebook and Instagram. I think Twitter came out with a scheduler, but I'm not on Twitter anymore. Use the one that's native to the platform. But if you don't have, if you have multiple accounts and you need to stay on top of them, these are some resources. BuzzSumo is actually a really interesting platform for finding trending topics and trending keywords around a cause and an issue. So what I really want you to take away from this presentation is that, I mean, it sounds so cynical, but the platforms answer to their shareholders. They do not have our best interests at heart. They were never designed for us. They were designed to make money, and they have to answer to their shareholders. So any way that we can build our house, not on rented land, we can get people off to our email list or get them to make a donation on offline, you know, like on Keela, for example, like get them to make a donation somewhere so you have them in your donor file in your ecosystem. the success that you're going to gain, it really is just like committing to being healthy. You can't just do one thing. You can't eat a salad once a week and then eat pizza every other day and smoke a pack of cigarettes. Like you could do that, but then you're not going to get your healthy results. Okay. It's like exercise. You have to be consistent. Can't change your strategy every week. You got to commit to something. Choose one platform if you're strapped for time. Choose one platform, do it well. And please break up with platforms that are not serving you. I give you full permission to do that. Or maybe just have your higher ups call me and I'll explain why you might need to break up with a platform that's not serving you. Okay. I would love to connect with you. This is the link to my podcast and the link to my website. And like Meredith said, you're going to get the slides, you're going to get the recording, and you will get all the information to connect with me after that. So I would love to take your questions. And I feel like not only am I the biggest Canva and LinkedIn affiliate, I'm also a Hintwater. I'm not paid by them, but I'm obsessed with Hintwater and I drink it in every webinar. And my friend was like, "Are you paid by them?" I was like, I need to be, because
yeah, they should
sponsor you. It's the best thing ever.
I love that you mentioned Canva. I think, it's such an amazing tool, and so many nonprofits don't have that resource in-house, and we spend so much money.
And there's a
outsourcing
scheduler
it.
too.
Yeah, it's amazing. If anybody is like in need of graphic design, check out Canva before you start kind of recruiting. But we got a ton of questions here, so let's get to as many as we can. So we got a question from, I believe it's Ty. If I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I apologize. But Ty says, I've always heard that financial asks on social media should be minimal and only when you have a strong following. How do you know when your organization is ready to make financial asks on social media?
I think you just have to try. So honestly, I would probably try something that's like a little bit less of an ask, maybe ask people to sign up for an email list or download your annual report, something like that. Because if you are, say you're posting videos and photos and content and you are getting engagement and getting reach, that means your audience trusts you. So it's all about building up that trust. It's like, you wouldn't just immediately meet someone at a dinner party and ask them for a donation. You'd probably tell them a little bit about your organization and share a story, maybe give them a business card and then follow up later. It's the same on social media. So I would say, if you feel like, well, also just try it, just try it, see what happens. But if you are seeing that your videos are getting a lot of views, or you are posting and getting a little bit of engagement, I definitely agree with the minimal aspect of it. That's why I choose the 80-20 rule. So 80% of what you're sharing should not be an ask. It should be like a value add. And then 20% of what you share can be an ask. So I think if you're following that content rule, you'll pretty much be doing okay. And I would follow that rule anywhere, your email list, your website. I would really follow that rule, because right now, especially with trust in nonprofits down, trust in organizations, government is just down. People are not trusting anything and anybody. So we have to work twice as hard to build that trust before we can actually make the ask. And the ask also has to be compelling. Like you still have to have a good ask, no matter when you ask it.
For sure. Okay, we got a lot of questions about kind of balancing that 80-20 that you are kind of talking about and the different audiences. So we got a question from Kate that says, like many nonprofits, our social strategy is twofold, meant to both provide resources for those seeking assistance as well as connecting with donors. What is the best tip you would give to somebody juggling both strategies and trying to reach two potentially very different audiences?
I would say that your donors are seeing those resources and it's helping them understand what you do. So I used to work at a domestic violence organization, and our Facebook strategy was just that. It was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It was how to talk to a friend that you think is being abused or in an abusive situation. It was, how to hold a workplace seminar on domestic violence, how to incorporate mental health training into this. And the donors would see that and they wouldn't think it wasn't for them. They would just say, oh, this is the mission of the organization. So I don't see them as two exclusive audiences. I see the information that you're putting out there really as top level marketing, helping people understand what you do and why you do it. And it's not going to exclude a donor if you say, oh, we're having a diaper drive and we need diapers. Or like, I'm just thinking of the food bank here. They have like an anxiety group for teens and they're posting a lot about that. And they actually had a donor call because they saw it on Facebook and said, I want to sponsor it. And it was not like sponsor our anxiety group, which I actually don't think calling something an anxiety group, it gives me anxiety thinking about joining a group called an anxiety group, but that's neither here nor there. But they were posting about what they were doing. And a donor saw that and said, wow, I really like what you're doing and I want to be a part of it. So I wouldn't say that it's mutually exclusive.
Great. We got a question from Katie about metrics, and she's
Mhm.
asking, how important is it to post when your audience is active according to the metrics? And maybe what are the main metrics that they should be paying attention to on social media?
Yeah. And fear busters, that's a good one. I'll give them that, give them that tip. It's really important if you can narrow it down. So with Meta, as an example, if you go to Meta, they're calling it business manager, business schedule, whatever it might be, whatever it's called. When I go there to post on my Facebook page, it will suggest optimal times to me. I say, listen, even if they gave me like 8:30 p.m. on a Friday. I would never have posted at 8:30 p.m. on a Friday. And I did. And sure enough, it got like twice the engagement. So I would look at those metrics. Absolutely. For instance, if you're talking to teachers, you are not going to be posting between 9 and 3 p.m. or even 8 and 3 p.m. If you're talking to professionals, maybe on LinkedIn, you can post between 9 and 5, but a lot of places have these things blocked. So I really do think looking at when people are online is really important and using those metrics. And then it's all just a test. You've just got to test and test and test some more. But you might be surprised at the times that are going to work best. Everyone thinks, oh, it's 9 a.m. on a Monday. No, it might be 5 p.m. on a Saturday. Like you just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Testing. I know there's like such a mix of fundraisers and marketing people on this call, or marketers on this call. And I think when I was a fundraiser, I think I underestimated how much testing we did.
Oh, 6 p.m. on a Sunday.
Everything. Yeah.
Oh, and if you read, so there's like email marketing metrics that have come out that say, we all thought, Wednesday at 10 a.m. was the best day. No, it turns out it's like Thursday at 3 p.m. I mean, you just have to look. And I constantly am looking at my metrics about when I send an email, when I post, because it's constantly changing and, you'll get in a groove, but there's not going to be a one size fits all for everybody. So that's why you have to look at your own audience.
Exactly. Okay, we got another question that says, our fundraising team always wants us to repurpose everything they're doing for social media, but it gets close to no engagement. How do we find a happy medium?
Who is this?
This is from an anonymous person. So
no, but who are they repurposing? I guess I should just read.
So it sounds like this to me sounds like it's a marketing person on the marketing team, and their fundraising team is always wanting them to repurpose everything that they are doing on their channels, but it gets almost no engagement. So how do you kind of find that balance?
This is why you have to all be having weekly meetings with whoever the buck stops here person is, the ED, the development chair, the marketing head, the fundraising head, because if you're not a decision maker, it's very hard for you to say, I can't post this. And I understand that. And if they're not the decision makers, it's hard for them to say, I won't send you this because my boss is trying to tell me to post this. So you just have to make sure that all the decision makers are in the room and that you're, creating an overarching strategy for what you're trying to do on social media. And then you're looking at how marketing, fundraising, everything fits in. So it's not just kind of like piecemeal, send this out, post this, but it's really important to have whoever the decision makers are on board. And it's sometimes like couples counseling with marketing and fundraising, but it's incredibly important. So having that overarching strategy, which is more than I can talk about in 30 seconds or less, but also having that vision that everyone signs on to, like, this is why we're doing this. This is who we're trying to reach. This is the purpose we're trying to achieve. And this is the kind of content that's going to get us there. And here's, how we can do it. But unless everyone is on board with that vision in the first place, it's going to be challenging.
Agreed. The
Oh, I love
content
fans
battle.
on my podcast. Thank you.
Okay, we are
Yay.
at time. We had so many amazing questions. So we mentioned we're going to be sending out the slides and the recording, which will have kind of that final slide with Julia's contact information if anybody wants to get in touch with her. But we are going to wrap it up. So thank you so much
Yay.
again, Julia. I hope
Thank
everybody
you.
today is leaving kind of feeling empowered and ready to tap into the power of social media in their work. So thank you again. And before we go, I just want to let everybody know there will be a very short survey that will pop up right after the session. It should only take you about 20 seconds. So we would greatly appreciate hearing your feedback. We have our next webinar coming out next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, June 27th, with Claire Williams from Imagine Canada. And it's all about diving into the challenges and opportunities facing corporate nonprofit partnerships in the coming years. So thank
Sounds
you.
great.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thanks,
Julia.
Meredith
Thank
and
you,
Stephanie. And thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
We'll see everybody soon.
Take care.